Hello there, world of tankers. I'm Blitz, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the Eagle 7, otherwise known as the T26E3. Now, this is a Tier 7 premium medium tank that is currently undergoing super testing. So in today's video I'm going to be telling you guys all these statistics I do know about it, the armor profile, and how I personally feel it is going to be playing on the battlefield. So, of course, if you like this type of video, please make sure to stick around till the end. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as it does help out the channel so much. But real quick before I do get into this video as well, I just want to say that this tank is undergoing super testing, which means that these statistics I do have for you guys today could be subject to change, whether this tank is performing too well or it's underperforming, so just make sure to keep that in mind. Getting into these statistics, this tank has a base damage per minute of 2,110, and that is not a great damage per minute for a Tier 7 medium. In fact, it is second to last in the list, so it's not that good for the base damage per minute. Same for the penetration values. They're actually very good for a Tier 7 medium, but in my opinion, 160 mil of pen is not going to be the best when you're going up tiered, especially against vehicles like a Tiger 2. There is no way, even with your premium rounds sitting at 202 millimeters of standard pen, that you're going to be able to penetrate tanks like a Tiger 2 from the front. Even an IS-5 you're really going to struggle with. So the penetration values on this tank and the damage per minute are going to make it very tough to run very front line as a medium tank. So that is one thing I do want to point out there. However, it does actually have a very nice amount of damage at 225 per shot. Most Tier 7 mediums have around 200, maybe 190. The only one that is higher than this is the T34 one, sitting at a whopping 270. The base aiming time on this tank is 1.63 seconds, which is actually very nice for a medium class that is in fact number 1, as well dispersion values at 0.317 are very good again for the size of the gun, and as well for the Tier 7 medium class in general. And while the dispersion value and base aiming time are very good on this tank, dispersion factors while on the move are actually worst in class at 0.170. That is very poor. As well, when rotating the turret, value at 0.08 is still not too great. So it sort of balances out on the aiming time because it's very good aiming time and dispersion, but it's also got very bad dispersion factors while on the move, so you're definitely going to have to sit, take your time aiming, and not move your tank too much. Now, gun depression angles, of course, because it is an American-style medium, it gets that nice 10 degrees. As well, 20 degrees of gun elevation, you're not really going to have to worry about people above you. But that gun depression is going to be so sweet when you're working on pretty much any ridge line. You need to shoot people below you. Use the turret armor on this tank, because it is sort of like a Pershing-style medium. You're going to see that it actually has quite a beefy turret. Now, it does weigh 40 tons, which is very heavy for a Tier 7 medium tank. So because of that, it doesn't have the highest top speed at 49 kilometers per hour. In fact, that is one of the slowest out of all the mediums in the class. But it can back up very fast at 21 degrees a second. That's almost half of the entire forward speed. So that's something that's very nice. You're going to be able to back up right out of cover, able to peek up on ridge lines, back up after you've shot, and because you've got a little bit of a longer reload from your higher alpha, that is one thing that this tank's going to be decent on. But the power to weight ratio is 12.69, and while that would be decent for a Tier 8 heavy tank, when you're sitting at 12.69, that is in fact the worst power to weight ratio values out of every single Tier 7 medium in the game. So that is not going to be too good. Even for the traverse speed at 44.95, it is also worst in class on traverse speed, so this tank is not doing too well on the mobility. So it's a very funky take on how I definitely feel it's going to play looking at all of these statistics. Getting into the armor profile, you can see it actually does have some decent armor going for it. Now, of course, the hull is extremely weak, just like it is for most American mediums. Only 130 millimeters thick, you're not really going to be bouncing much there. Even the lower plate's still very weak at that. But the nice thing about it is that you actually cannot pen any high explosive on the front of this tank, lower plate or upper plate. As well, side armor on this tank is not the best. 76 millimeters, yeah. RHMs, pretty much any 152, you're going to be able to get HE right into the side of this tank. And the rear is the stock standard American 50 millimeters, which is not going to stand up pretty much against anything. But you've all been looking at this giant red mantlet, wondering how thick it is, and it is extremely thick at that. For a Tier 7 medium, sitting at 280 millimeters thick pretty much means that it's impervious to any rounds flying at it. Unless you're in, like, let's say, an M6 experimental using calibrated firing premium rounds, you're really going to struggle to try and penetrate that mantlet. You're probably not going to end up getting through it. You can see it ranging all the way up to 295 millimeters thick. Not to mention, this tank does get that 10 degrees gun depression, so you can use your gun depression, make it even harder. That upper plate does become a little bit thicker, maybe get some nice auto ricochets on it. Now, of course, the cheeks on the turret are going to be very weak, only about 120 millimeters thick. So if you want to take out this vehicle when you're going up against it, just aim at the cheeks and it's going to be a very, very easy pen. Even one of the lowest pen values at tier 7 is still easily going to be able to get right through the sides of the turret, and as well it's got that big cupola on top. But if you're a skilled player and you know how to run tanks with gun depression, you can hide your hull, try and hide the weak spots on your turret, peeking up every now and then when you've got your long reload fixed. And then you can pull out, snap them for your decent amount of alpha, back behind the ridge, and I actually think that this tank will be very, very decent if you can run it like that, especially on a map like Canyon, Dead Rail. I think that this can actually be a very, very effective and frontline medium. On my personal opinion for this tank, I definitely think it can be a strong vehicle, especially if you're on gun depression important maps like Canyon, Dead Rail. You are going to be very, very effective if you manage to hide your hull, you use your turret armor, make sure that you wiggle it, and you'll do very, very well. But at the same time, I also can't say that you're going to be doing extremely well in it, because if you think about it, the tank does have good aiming time. It's also got good dispersion values, but it has terrible on-movement dispersion values. Now, as I said, the cheeks on this tank are very, very weak, so you don't want to sit out in front of your opponents for a prolonged amount of time. But since when you're moving this vehicle, it makes your dispersion values bloom extremely large, you're going to have to sit and stare at the enemy when you've pulled up, hoping that they bounce off your turret. But they're just going to keep aiming at your weak spots every single time you pull up and wait for your aiming time to go in. So I definitely feel that that is also a very big weakness on this tank, that you have this good turret, but you have to sit out in the open probably for so long for your aiming time to go back in, that it also is some sort of weakness. So I definitely want to see how this tank is going to play in battle. I definitely feel it's going to be a strong medium in some scenarios, but I also feel it's going to be very easy to take out. The hull armor really, as you saw, isn't going to stand up against pretty much any opponents. Some tier 7 mediums might struggle to pen you when you're using your 10 degrees of gun depression, but again, they can just load the premium and they will go right through your armor. So I definitely don't feel that this is actually going to be one of the strongest mediums in the class. In fact, I don't feel it's going to be that strong at all. The power to weight ratio on this thing completely sucks. The traverse speed is awful. It is one of the most immobile tier 7 mediums in the game. In fact, a super Pershing would make this thing seem fast, it seems like. So I definitely feel that this tank is not going to be that spectacular. I think the main reason why it's a lot slower is because it grabs the Pershing hull from tier 8, brings it down a tier, gives it sort of a worse gun with a lot worse pen, lower damage per minute, everything else like that, but I think it sacrifices too much to get the Pershing hull, which isn't a great hull as it is in the first place. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. If you think it's going to be a good tank, if you want to buy it, please let me know what you feel in the comments. Before I do head off, one of the most important questions is this tank going to be sold in crates, or is it just going to be sold for a stock standard price tag? Now, I personally feel, just looking at the statistics of this vehicle, how I feel it's going to play out on the battlefield, there is no way Wargaming is going to be putting it in crates. It just doesn't seem that effective as a tier 7 medium when you can buy vehicles like a Dracula, Type 62 Dragon. There's a lot of other lighter, faster tanks that I feel can be a lot more effective. They're also probably a much, much cheaper price tag. This tank will probably come out for around 12,500 gold, probably 10,000 without the equipment on it when it does come into these stores first. And even in my opinion, I still feel that that would be too expensive of a price tag just looking at these statistics currently. Now, if Wargaming does end up buffing this tank, which I feel they could maybe buff the traverse speed, the engine power on it, I think it will be a much, much stronger tank. Maybe buff the on-movement turret rotation values, that would make it stronger, leave the penetration, leave the damage per minute, as it does have a higher alpha. But I definitely feel that it is way too underpowered in some of the areas compared to most tier 7 mediums that are going to, just skyrocket past it on the stats, and they're also going to skyrocket past it literally because it is such a slow medium tank. So let me know what you guys think about in the comments down below. If you want to drop your money on this vehicle, I know it's actually a very appealing vehicle. I think you can put a little eagle on the side of it. It has a nice green camouflage. It's definitely an appealing tank. But looks aren't everything, as we know, because the Lupus is definitely not the prettiest tank, but it does do the job, and it does it very, very well. So please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you're going to be spending some of your hard-earned money on this tank. But other than that, guys, please make sure to subscribe if you aren't already. About 52% of my viewers are currently unsubscribed, so it would really help the channel if you guys did subscribe. But other than that, guys, I will see you in the next one.